Objections been a major challenge to you closing sales? In this video, I'm going to show you how to convert objections to opportunities. Now, this means that this training session is about to prepare you for your next prospect's objection. I'm going to walk you through what we mean by the objection to opportunity mindset. I'm going to let you know what to do before the objection, what to do during the objection, then what to do after the objection, which is where the opportunity is. So I want you to please give me your full attention in this video. First of all, let's start with what are the causes of objections? There are two major causes of objections. The objection is either caused by the salesperson or it is caused by the prospect. When we say it is caused by the salesperson, what do I mean? There are certain activities that if salespeople don't do them, objections will arise. There are also activities that if salespeople do these things, objections will arise. So the role of the salesperson is to have what we call the perfect sales process, such that there will be no reason for the objection to arise from the prospect. However, the salesperson can do everything he or she is supposed to do, but the prospect could be the reason for the objection. And in such cases, it could be that the prospect didn't give you all the required information. Therefore, you probably were not selling the right solution to them. And they came up with, I can't afford it, or let me think about it, or I'll get back to you. Or I want to talk to my spouse first. The prospect probably didn't even give you correct information as regards their decision-making process. And because they didn't give the correct information, you didn't know that there was another decision maker. And at the end, he says, let me talk to my spouse first. And that could be the fault of the prospect, not necessarily your fault. However, in sales, we want to take 100% responsibility for the outcome. This means that there are things that you can do to actually tweak your sales process such that the things that were the fault of the prospect, you can now mitigate them. And that's why coming on these programs like this will actually help you over time get to master all these concepts. Let's go straight into the content now. Objection to opportunity mindset. What do we mean by the objection to opportunity mindset? The objection to opportunity mindset runs on the principle that no objection can work against you. An objection is either working on you or it is working for you. Now, what's the difference? If it is going to be working on you, this means that it would help you improve your sales process. Because your aim is to make sure that the objection is not your fault. You want to make sure that even if you lost the transaction and you felt you lost it because you couldn't handle the objection, let it be that the reason for the objection was not insinuated or created by you. It was from the prospect's part, like I've explained to you earlier. Then the second mindset, as regards the objection to opportunity mindset, like I said, is in two forms. It means it either works on you or it works for you. I've explained it works on you right now. Now, when we say it works for you, what we're saying is that it lets you know their mind. Because when a prospect gives you an objection, it's a good thing. Who would you rather do business with? Would you rather do business with somebody who says, I've heard you. You're done presenting. You're done pitching. And the person says, I've heard you. Thank you. All right, you can go. Or would you do business with somebody who says, the price, the issue is that I'm not sure I can afford that now. The thing is, I don't really like the color. I don't like the shape. Now, the person who is talking, the fact that the prospect is giving you the objection is a sign that this situation is going to work for you. Why? Because you would be able to tell the mind of the prospect. And the moment a salesperson can tell the mind of the prospect, he or she can be able to sell to the prospect. Why do we listen to prospects? Why do we ask questions? It's because we want to be able to tell their mind. You cannot read people's minds, but you can know what's in their mind based on what they say. And that's why when you hear objections, it's a great opportunity because you get to know what they're thinking. It also lets you know that they were listening to you. That's the beautiful thing about objections. It means that the prospect was actually listening to you and processing what you were saying. It also shows that they are really interested. See, an objection is not a denial. An objection should be looked at. Opportunity objection to opportunity mindset, an objection should be looked at as a sign that the prospect is really interested. Because of his interest, he's saying, I'm not so sure that the value I'm getting is far more than the price. If the value I was getting is far more than the price, I wouldn't have these concerns. But it looks like the price is higher than the value. That's why I'm still checking, and I'm telling you now that I want to think about it. That's why I'm telling you now that price is my concern. That's why I'm telling you now that it is too expensive. It also shows that the prospect likes you, just so you know. When someone is giving an objection, it's a sign that the person actually likes you. Because you see, if the prospect didn't like you, then you could see this attitude, which is, all right, thank you. You can go. Thank you. With this kind of situation, how do you close? The person is not talking. He's not giving you enough information. It becomes difficult. Now, there are things you can do before the objection arises. Before the objection, there are things that you can do. And these things I'm going to mention to you right now are the things that give you control, such that all the things that could be your faults, you would eradicate them now. Number one, before you set out to go for your meeting, check, recheck, double check. What are you checking for? You're checking for your business cards. Are they ready? Are they with you? If you're supposed to have business cards, maybe your organization, everybody has business cards, to use business cards, then you should make sure that your business cards are with you. If for any reason you don't have business cards and your organization has not made available business cards to you, it will not stop you from being able to close. You just have to know how to conduct yourself properly. And you have to realize that it's not a problem. Since COVID, since 2020, a lot of businesses stopped or reduced how they use business cards. And that has given us the opportunity now for someone to ask you for your number and you just stretch your phone. Or you just ask for the person's number and you type it into your phone. So it's not a problem. My point is that if you have business cards assigned to you, make sure you have them ready. Your sign-up forms, the forms you're going to use to close, have them ready. Your clothes, 90% of your body is covered with clothes. So 90% of the impression you create on a prospect that will make the person like you, trust you, want to do business with you, will come from what you're wearing. So you want to make sure that your tie is properly knotted, jackets worn, pocket square, shoe shined, hair combed, powder on your face. Make sure that your face is not shiny. Just present yourself in the best way possible, because that would prevent an objection from arising. There are objections that arise because the prospect felt, I asked for a business card, you don't even have one. Oh, I asked you for your sign up for you're not even properly dressed. Then the person feels, I can't do business with this person. I remember listening to a story on Facebook the other day, and a guy talked about how he had met a client online, done the presentation. The man was so interested and felt like, wow, this guy is going to change my business. He gave me a bill, but the man said, well, okay, can we meet in my office before I make payment? He said, no problem. He gets into the man's office. When the man said when he saw him, he said, what? He said, okay, man. And this man was very open. He said, I'm not sure I can pay you this money. Because if I pay you this money now, with the way you're looking like this, you may run away with the money. So you see, this salesperson now was the cause of the objection, how he looked, how he appeared. And the second thing you want to do is that to make sure that these are things you do before the objection, just to make sure that for no reason are you going to be the cause of the objection. Arrive early for the appointment. Going late for an appointment is 50% of the sale lost. So never go late for the appointment. This means you need to leave your office early enough. Give room for traffic time. It's better you get for the appointment early than while you're seated at the reception or waiting in your car or in the office official car or whatever means of waiting. While you're there, you're actually using your imagination to picture what the meeting will look like. And you're seeing the prospect buying from you. You're seeing the transaction going beyond any objection for him to do business with you. Number 3, be very professional with everyone you meet. From the gate to the receptionist, till you get to the prospect, be very professional. I remember one of my interviews I went for. An interview is almost like selling. And that's why on this channel, we're going to talk about how you can even ace sales interviews. One of my very significant sales interviews, when I got in for the interview, I remember I sat somewhere at the lobby upstairs. So the interview was supposed to take place by my right here. While I was seated, a lady, beautiful lady by the way, she came up, she walked up the stairs. She looked like a very young lady. Young lady. I didn't have, you see, in our culture, a lot of times, if you're not careful, you feel like, oh, because of your age, why should you greet someone that's younger than you, right? So, but nevertheless, good home training demands certain things. When I saw her coming upstairs, I said, good afternoon, madam. She says, hi, good afternoon. The other people sitting on the chair with me, waiting for the interview, they didn't even really greet. Only for me to get into the interview session, she was at the center of the interview panel, making the decisions. My goodness. And I got the job. So my point is that be very professional with everyone you meet. From the gates to the receptionist, greet everyone. I've seen people go for sales meetings and they had an argument with the security man. And the argument was so heated that the person we were going to meet with got to hear about the person's conduct. And you think about it, you wonder, that was not necessary. At the end of the day, the person says, after that kind of person is done presenting, the prospect says, okay, let me think about it. I'll get back to you. The person is not thinking about anything. The person is just trying to get rid of you because you were rude, or that salesperson was rude to the people where he or she met in the organization. Number 4, introduce yourself with a pre-planned introduction. How do you introduce yourself? Why is this important? If you don't have a planned introduction, you could lose control of the conversation with the prospect. Whoever is asking questions in a sales conversation is in charge. And if you don't have a planned way of introducing yourself, what could happen is the moment you mention your name, the company you're from, the prospect starts to ask you questions. All right, yes. You called me that you were coming. So tell me about your products. What exactly do you have? There's already a problem here because the prospect is leading the conversation. And because the prospect is leading the conversation, he will not lead the conversation to his bank accounts. He will lead it away from his bank accounts. In sales, questions bring focus and direction in a conversation. And that's why you want to be the one leading the conversation. That's why your introduction needs to be very planned. So this means when you mention your name, the company you're working from, you then ask for permission to ask questions. Hi, my name is I work with. Thank you for having us here today. Before we go on, we'd like to ask you a few questions, sir. We normally would ask our clients these questions when we have meetings with them. Can I go ahead to run you through 3 or 4 of these questions? Most likely, 99% of the time, he would say, all right, go ahead, please. What if the prospect says, actually, I don't have much time. You may need to make it brief. Find out, okay, sir, how much time do we have so that we can structure our conversation or our questions accurately? Then based on timing he tells you, you can now know how to take the conversation from there. You may need to reschedule the meeting, or you can just go ahead if you feel the time will be enough for you to do the things you need to do. Then, after asking for permission to ask questions, when the prospect is talking, listen actively. Listen actively. You see, there are listening techniques that make it possible or make it difficult for objections to arise. And these techniques have to do with making eye contact, making sure that while you're listening, you're nodding and making sounds to let the prospect know that, hey, you're carrying me along. If you're taking notes, make sure it's in a pen and notepad and not a tablet or on your phone. When the prospect is done talking, pause. Why do you pause? You're pausing so the prospect can know that you have understood them and you're trying to digest the information to produce the best response to the prospect. How long should you pause for? 3 to 5 seconds is fine. Then before you communicate value, after pausing, before you communicate value and start to profess solutions to the problems you have found. You see, selling is preferring problems to solutions. Preferring solutions to problems. That's what selling is about. So this means that when you go in for a meeting, because you want to make sure that the objection is not your fault, you want to ensure that you find a problem. Because if you find a problem, then you can prefer the solution. And if there is a need or a strong desire or a strong problem which you have a perfect solution for, it reduces the chances of there being an objection. However, if the problem you have found is a strong problem, but you can't really seem to be able to provide the perfect solution, or the prospect doesn't even realize that the problem he has is strong enough or a significant problem. You will not be able to provide, even if you give the perfect solution, because the problem to him is not something he has a strong desire for to change. It's not big enough to him. He may not want to do anything about it, and objections will arise. So apart from making sure that before you communicate value, you establish your credibility, you also want to make sure that the prospect changes how they see their problems. Spend more time talking about the problem you have identified than you do talking about your solution. You ought to spend 90% of your conversation with the prospect talking about his problems and just 10% talking about your solution. So it should be that you've talked about the problem for so long and amplified the problem in the prospect's mind. He realizes that he needs to act on this thing now. He needs to change the situation now. Then give the solution quickly and go for the close. Now, if you do it this way, and of course, like I said earlier, make sure you establish your credibility, sell your company. Before you can talk about solving any solution, please, let the person know who they are doing business with. When a prospect is trying to make decisions, one of the early things he's looking out for, apart from the fact that whether he likes you or not, the next thing he's looking out for is, does he like your company? If the prospect doesn't like your company, it doesn't matter, it will affect how he perceives your solution. So you need to have your short pitch of how you sell your company. Are there awards you've gotten? Are you the number one or the top 5 in the industry? Do you have, what are some of your milestones or some of your significant accomplishments? You have to mention them before you talk about the solution. So that way they know that they are doing business with an organization that they would love to do business with. Now, what about during the objection? If for any reason you have done all these things, meaning that from your part you feel there's no reason, this is perfect, there's no reason why an objection should arise. Nevertheless, an objection comes up. Like I've said, there's a mindset. The mindset is, this objection is working on me or working for me. So now the objection has come. What do you want to do and how should you respond? There's what we call the SS principle for responding when an objection is being said. Hey. Oh my goodness. Are you aware that when an objection is being said, while the person is talking, there's a certain response you must have? I've not even gotten to how you should respond after the objection. While he's talking, the SS principle demands that your facial expression must show that you're surprised and not sarcastic. So you don't want to make the person look like he's stupid, but you want to show like you're surprised, like, oh, really? Because you are genuinely surprised. Because the value you are offering is far greater than the price. The first thing a salesperson must do is a salesperson must sell his product to himself. You must sell your product to yourself such that you are convinced that this thing is the best. So if you person now, because you have done your part, you have qualified correctly, you have determined the decision makers, and he now says he needs to talk to somebody else. You're like, really? I thought you mentioned, you see, you're looking surprised. If the person says, I can't afford it now. Say, oh, really? But I thought you said that this problem, if it continues, you'll be losing this amount of money. You see? So you want to make sure that you're surprised during the objection. Now, after the objection, after the prospect has mentioned the objection, ladies and gentlemen, treat the objection as a question. Treat it as a question. So don't look at it like an opposition. Just treat it like a normal question that you're going to answer, because in the first place, this objection is working for you. It shows that the prospect likes you. It shows that the prospect has been listening to you. It shows that the prospect is genuinely interested. It just needs more information. So treat it like a question. It will take some of the pressure, and the energy and the vibe you release in the room gives a better environment for a decision to be made by the prospect. Number 2, clarify to know what the real concern is. I'm talking about after the objection, after you heard the objection now. I started with before the objection, during the objection, after the objection. Now, clarify to know what the real concern is. Oh, sir, are you saying price is your only concern? Sir, are you saying that if we do something about the price right now, you're ready to make payments now? Is that what you're saying? So you want to make sure that you clarify it's not the real concern so that you can now address it accordingly. What if the person says, let me think about it? Your response should be, oh, fantastic. Our best clients actually took time to think about it. But first of all, can you walk me through what aspect do you like the most about what I've said so far? When he walks you through, you can tell whether he really listened or he was not listening. And if you really listen and he could tell you what you like the most, maybe 3 things you like the most, you ask him, can you tell me 3 things you like the most? And I can tell you the 3 things. Then you can now ask, okay, which of these 3 things do you want to think about? Just in case I can help you to actually resolve the issues here. Then that way you really get to hear from them what the real challenges are. All right, thank you so much for listening. I'll see you in the next video. Please remember to share and subscribe so you can be notified when we go live. Comments below which objection you feel you struggled with so that possibly I can give you answers to these objections. Thank you so much. Happy New Year once again. Cheers.